Until our film, a piercing evaluation of two contrasting pop stars and a man who likes piercings.
Robbie, you know, he's the only British rock star now, isn't he, Robbie Williams?
Greatest singer-songwriter of all time, Gary Barlow, will prove himself in the future.
This is the story of my life. This is the story of my day. This is the story of my life. This is the story of my day.
This week we feature two of Cool Britannia's biggest pop stars, Robbie Williams and Gary Barlow, and tell the story of why Wild Man Williams and Nice Guy Gary just can't seem to get on.
Is that true or not?
I think it's, you know, it's 50-50 really. I think that there was a little bit of discontentment when we broke up between myself and Robbie, but you know, it's kind of healing.
Don't snort like that.
There was the hunky one, the cute one, and the arty one. Then, of course, there was the fat one and the cheeky one. Together they conquered the world, but it couldn't be magic forever.
The former Take That star was close to suicide last weekend.
Robbie Williams checked into a clinic today in a bid to beat his addiction to booze and cocaine.
He's blamed his binges on being too rich, too young and too naive.
Could this be the magic that lasts?
14 Southern Comforts later, it was 5:30 in the morning, I'm in a cab saying, slow down, the trees are bending in. Only going 15 mile an hour, mate, you know. So I get back and I eventually find the key to the door, and I've taken that many breaths of fresh air, I'm starting to feel sick in Lulu's house.
Oh, no.
This is so Lulu? I know, it's just, this isn't right.
Yeah. So, this is going to ruin our catalogue work if you're not careful.
Anyway, I just see the bottom of the stairs and I think, I've got to go. So I've had my hands over my mouth. So I run up the stairs and it's starting to come out. I'm outside Lulu's bedroom.
Yeah.
It's coming down my arm.
While underneath the odd carefully leaked laddie incident, Clean Cut Gary was the ultimate professional. For Robbie, partying hard became a way of life. This difference between them would lead to clashes within Take That and later more public ones in their solo careers. Their early lives were very different too. The little market town of Frodsham nestles snugly in the Cheshire countryside. Far removed from the big city temptations of Liverpool, way across the Mersey estuary. It was in Frodsham in 1971 that pop sensation Gary Barlow was born and brought up.
Growing up in Frodsham is probably quite a quiet place for a teenager. It could be why he gravitated more towards writing his songs and playing his keyboards. He seemed to spend a lot of time writing songs and recording them at home. So he probably didn't go out much.
There was the time when my children and Gary, we went to a local choir concert. And it was absolutely hilarious. They got into a giggling fit. They all got into a giggling fit. I got into a giggling fit, and it's the nearest I've ever been to getting thrown out of a local concert. But that was the sort of lad he was. He was just a load of fun.
I would say he always knew where he wanted to go, and I think it was from about 13 onwards that he really knew what he wanted to do, and it's always been clear that he's had a lot of self-belief.
40 miles away from Frodsham, Stoke-on-Trent is a city divided by football. You're born on one side of the line or the other. This simple act of fate can decide the course your whole life will take. Robbie Williams was born to follow Port Vale.
First time I heard him sing was when we went to a party at the place at Stoke-on-Trent. He was about 14 and we were doing a bit of karaoke. And he got up and sang there, and obviously he got a bit of talent. And so I've known him before he even got famous. And since then, I mean, he was always a Port Vale supporter as a young lad. And as time's grown, he's been a tremendous ambassador for us as well.
And to this day, the pub in Burslem that was Robbie's first home remains at the very epicentre of Port Vale FC.
This was a big Vale pub, you know, I mean, if a Stokey walks in here, then he doesn't walk out.
What were your manners of Robbie as a little boy?
He was a menace. Nuisance. He used to run around the bar. Of course, we didn't know he was going to be famous then, so otherwise we might have liked him a bit more.
The young Gary Barlow was also interested in sport. By 15, he was a karate black belt.
He built the shape he's in now when he was a youth doing his karate, 'cause it's quite a lot of it involves muscular development. I think he developed that quite well early on. He was always in good shape without being too big, quite lean and muscular and very supple and agile.
But Gary had other ambitions besides being a big cheese on the Cheshire martial arts circuit. Like all dreams, it had to start somewhere. For the 12-year-old future megastar, it was the M56, leading him far away from cosy Frodsham to his first gig in this working man's club in North Wales.
He played a wider shade of pale, and I thought, well, great talent there. So I thought, well, I'll ask him, could he play in the bar? So his mother and father was with him. So we had a talk, and he agreed to come every Saturday night, which that's when he started off.
He was just a boy of 12, you know. Really, wasn't he? Come on.
Very quiet, very shy, very polite.
Yeah.
His mum and dad used to come to the bar first and buy him a drink, and then he would come up later on in the interval, pop and crisps. Didn't have a lot to say, did he?
No. He was just very shy.
But shy young Gary already had his sights set on the plusher surroundings of Runcorn.
Sometimes I am right, but I'm ready to learn about the power of love. The power of love. The power of love.
I remember once we were doing a piece on pocket money and how the kids in the class earned what money they had. And after circulating the class and hearing kids say that they have to walk the dog for £1 a week or go and do small ladies' garden for a few pound a week, it was quite funny to hear Gary say that he'd had £200 a week from his work and singing at the clubs in Runcorn.
While the adolescent Barlow was coining it in, his future bandmate Robbie Williams, 4 years his junior, was still at primary school.
Robert was 9 and coming on 10. I cast him as a devil in a play by Ted Hughes, Shaun the Fool, the Devil and the Cat. But see this chubby little face, dark hair, horns sticking out, and the cheekiness. And that was Robbie Williams.
Never one to mind being typecast. After Robbie moved to secondary school, he grabbed the chance of acting alongside professional lovies for the first time in another tailor-made part.
Consider yourself at home.
The Artful Dodger. It was his first experience of a proper stage, and Robbie was hooked. Meanwhile, having conquered the port and lemon set on the Northwest Cabaret circuit, the 16-year-old Gary Barlow decided to enter a BBC carol competition.
The fact that he'd done well in a BBC song competition really put him very much in the public eye. And so half the school idolised him. The rest of the school were probably very jealous.
He, of course, was disappointed that he'd only come second, but there were very nice comments made about him on the show, and I guess it must have helped him quite a lot along the way. It certainly brought him into contact with a lot of professional musicians and production people, and that obviously did him a lot of good.
Gary's prize from Pebble Mill was a trip to these Manchester recording studios and a fateful meeting with a tiny wee T-boy there called Mark Owen.
I can remember him saying that he'd met some dancers and there seemed to be a lot of promise in it. The emphasis was on dancing, and he felt that he was able to provide the musical input to that band.
Having failed all his GCSEs, the teenage Robbie Williams faced a very bleak future indeed. for about 30 minutes. But arriving home, his mum greeted him with exciting news. An acting agency he'd auditioned for had just rung. The boss, Nigel Martin Smith, had an alternative job offer for young Robbie, to be the 5th and final member of a new boy band he'd put together. Take that! Coming up in part 2, Robbie gets kissed and told on by a lap dancer. Gary closes down a pensioners' fishing club.
It's the best fishing I've ever had.
And how the former thatty became a fatty.
From the makers of Lethal Rage 4 comes the most explosive film yet.
Mr. Darcy, what an unexpected pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Would you care for some tea? How very kind. One lump or two? 3, actually.
How refreshing. How Heineken.
It's totally wicked! Over 40 massive hits with 5 and Bewitched. All Saints at another level. The greatest new stars are all only on Totally Wicked. It's new and it's fresh. Get Totally Wicked with these summer anthems and 8 #1s. Get out and get Totally Wicked!
Wilkinson Sword bring you technology in 3 dimensions. The new Protector 3D. Its wire-wrapped blades now move in 3 ways for the optimum balance of safety and closeness. Protector 3D from Wilkinson Sword. The feel of smart design. In a fresh new line of toiletries.
Mark. Well, it's the last time we'll be invited there. Is the drive clear, love?
No.
You got everything?
Yeah.
Apart from your dad.
The 1998 Almira, quite possibly the most reliable member of your family.
Who's Britain's fastest growing food retailer? With lots of half-price offers, like Mr. Kipling slices, only 99p. Half-price Iceland stone-baked ham and pineapple pizza, only 99p. And when you spend £25 or more, you get free home delivery. That's how Iceland make it easy.
Shine 10, 39 blinding tracks. Including Eagle-Eyed Cherry, Dandy Warhols, Space, James, and Embrace. Outshining the rest with Manson, Natalie Imbruglia, Pulp, and Catatonia. Garbage, Radiohead, and Fatboy Slim. Shine 10, out now.
July 93, and Take That had arrived. With Robbie Williams co-starring as court jester to Gary Barlow's Lovelorn Minstrel, they became the biggest band on the planet pop.
I mean, you know, everything was a record. The number of #1s, the length of time, the singles in the chart, the rate at which the album sold, the rate at which the concert tickets sold. You know, it basically, they maxed out in just about every area.
There was a Gary who was kind of the ultra-professional, whose job was to keep everyone in line, knew that it's all right being as talented as anyone, but to make it work, you have to actually be professional and put in the work. And then to set it all off was Robbie. And Robbie added a lot of attitude to the band, a lot of get up and go, a lot of the character that people remembered Take That as having.
But by summer 95, Robbie had tired of playing second fiddle to Gary. Shaving off his floppy fringe was his first clear act of rebellion, with more to follow.
Robbie wanted his youth back and couldn't have his youth within Take That because it was putting on a show every night and being on your best behaviour. He didn't always want to be on his best behaviour, so that's why he was the first to rebel.
I think Gary felt, well, it's time to be mature, and obviously there's a big age difference because Robbie didn't grow up, he was still acting like a kid, so that would annoy anybody, wouldn't it?
I think when Robbie went to Glastonbury on his own, it must have caused ructions.
Really daft when he went to Glastonbury. I mean, I just thought, he's really gone wild, what's wrong with him?
You hope that a group environment can have enough slack so that people can kind of develop themselves. Take That, however, was so regimented, that slack wasn't there.
They're watching the television, apparently, sitting at home. The rest of us, the rest of the world, were down at Glastonbury, rolling in the mud and all the rest of it. And then who comes on the television in the Oasis set live? But Robbie, clearly off his nut, he seemed, and with his tooth blacked out and with his blonde new peroxide hairstyle, that was not in the set of Take That rules strictly enforced by the manager. I would have given anything to have seen the manager's face. I've seen him lose his temper and I've seen him go ballistic, and God knows his face and his thunderous response at that time.
When the band arrived at this army base in Stockport to rehearse for an upcoming tour, it was obvious that Robbie was on borrowed time.
You did get a sort of atmosphere or a sense of somebody was in trouble or something was going to happen, but you couldn't sense or tell what it was. There was just that electric tenseness in the air. And this is the toilets where Robbie was usually followed in by one of the bouncers with one outside to, we presume, just as, they thought he was taking drugs, or if he was, this would be the most likely place, which, if he was, we never saw any signs. It's ridiculous, but...
What about if he had to go in there?
I shudder to think, probably they would have made him keep the door open.
Robbie's position in Take That was quite weird, because although he wasn't the songwriter, he was certainly the centre of attention, and I think he felt that, because he was also the youngest, he felt perhaps slightly bullied in the band and slightly pushed around.
The conditions they were working under, the hours they were working under, you could understand it. You did feel sorry for him. Well, probably the day that Robbie left would be in here, where they had the discussion and the final sacking, because this was the only place that could really have any of their own sort of private discussions. This would have been the place to do it.
Was he pushed or did he jump? Either way, Robbie wasn't going quietly. Over the following months, a feud developed as Gary and Robbie slugged it out in both the pop charts and the tabloid press.
If you felt, as Robbie felt, that he'd kind of felt like a kind of caged animal, then once you let somebody loose from that, they are going to go a little bit bananas, and clearly Robbie went quite a lot bananas.
I was upset. I was actually crying in school. My friends probably remember that. But afterwards I just started to dislike him a bit because of the way he was acting. And he was slagging off Take That, and I didn't like that at all.
He said some very, very unkind things about Gary Barlow.
He's big-headed.
I think he described Barlow as, I can't remember the exact words and I don't want to misquote him, but he certainly called him a at one point.
Robbie celebrated his departure from Take That by getting fat, drunk, and partying all night with his new pals.
Thing is, I'm really hungover from last night anyway, so it's balancing up, innit, really? It's Harry of the doggy.
He's really fat.
He's really fat?
Yeah, to me, Jordan. He's like a plum.
So, random sample of students. Who ate all the pies, Robbie or Gary?
It had to be Robbie, I would say. Definitely Robbie. I don't know, Robbie's all right. Now he's lost his beer belly a bit more, but he's still got it there. So who ate all the pies?
And the pasties too. I think probably be Robbie ate all the pies.
Probably, maybe. Yeah. Both of them. Both. Yeah. They shared. Yeah.
Robbie later enjoyed a high-profile fling with a lap dancer.
What me and Rob did wasn't sleazy, but what the papers wrote about us was. I met Rob when I was dancing in Stringfellows. I was actually dancing for one of the other guys at his table. When I finished dancing, Rob then asked me to dance for him, and of course I did. It was the end of the evening. Rob came to look for me. He gave me his phone number, and at the same time I gave him mine. He said he was going to phone me the next day, in which he did quite a few times that day. And it went from there on. When I got to Robbie's house that night, he answered the door in a Port Vale soccer shirt and shorts. He looked like a football hooligan. I mean, he did make a point in the evening of collecting all his empty beer cans and throwing them in the dustbin.
Would you like to see him again?
Maybe, but I doubt if he'll ever want to see me again.
Why do you think
because I've been bad. I betrayed him.
How did you betray him?
Because I kissed and told.
Do you regret doing that?
Yeah.
Gary, tired of being the fat one in Take That, shed a stone and launched his solo career. And slick new image. While the Barlow family moved into this mansion deep in the Cheshire countryside, Robbie was about to check into a country house too. In June '97, after an alleged 72-hour drink and drugs bender, he was reported to be on his way to Clouds, an exclusive rehab clinic in Wiltshire.
Robbie, how are you feeling today? Can I ask you?
Yeah, new single out, 14th of July. It's called Lazy Day. It's fantastic.
You got any message for your fans? Might be a bit worried about you.
Don't be worried about me. I'm fine. But I'm appalled at the turnout. When Michael Barrymore had a problem, there was thousands outside his house. See ya.
But Gary hasn't been without controversy in his neck of the woods either. He's banned a local fishing club who've used the lake on his estate since the 1950s.
In our opinion, we were never a nuisance to him, and anybody who did cause a nuisance would be told off by the club, which was limited to 30 members anyway. All old men, which couldn't do much damage.
And the 27-year-old would-be lord of the manor may have called his solo album Open Road, but there's not much evidence of one on his 60 acres of land.
A chap living in Norley, he wrote to the paper. He was expressing his dislike for the fencing. Said he didn't know whether it was like a stalag or gracelands.
I love to go home as well. It's always a nice opportunity to be able to get back up north again and escape from it all. And we have a little oasis in the middle of nowhere where nobody can find us, and we try to keep people from ringing as well.
Yeah.
And although he's never sampled the pleasures of this, his local pub, Gary was at least still outperforming Robbie in the charts, selling 10 albums to every one of Williams, until... The Christmas single, Angels, was a miracle for Robbie Williams. His solo album stormed up the charts, outselling Gary's by 3 to 1.
But it's early days yet. As I said, you're only as good as your last couple of songs. Gary just needs 2 more songs and he's ahead in the stakes.
Along with the success of Angels came a desire on Robbie's part to end his feud with Gary.
Unfortunately, it was a time when I was very bitter. It was done a long time ago, and it's just made me very sad.
Business is business, though, isn't it?
Business is business, but I'd just like to see Gary and apologise.
The pair finally kissed and made up on stage in December '97 when they sang together at Gary's concert for Diana.
I think Robbie has buried the hatchet now. They did shake hands and hug each other at the Concert of Hope, and that was very nice. Whether it was stage managed, I don't know.
You put the microscope on any relationship and it's going to be strained. You do that every day in every tabloid, it's going to get very strained.
From what I learned during my conversations with Robbie, I would describe his relationship with Gary Barlow as being, at best, awkward, and I wouldn't go any further than that.
But while controversy still dogs them both, are the popular public images of Wild Man Williams and Nice Guy Gary still accurate?
We like any young guy, we like a drink, we like a bit of a club afterwards, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's just that we seem to keep it private. You know, I've had many a vomiting session. If you want me to, you know, that's what you do, isn't it, when you're young?
Gary is often trying to prove that he's not as squeaky clean as he's portrayed, so he'll let slip kind of the occasional misdemeanour in interviews.
So under that laddie bravado, is Gary still Pop's Mr. Boring?
They say the same thing about Barry Manilow. Need I say any more? Greatest singer-songwriter of all time, Gary Barlow will prove himself in the future.
And has Port Vale's porkiest pop star mellowed?
Yes, he struck me as very much a lonely person, yeah. He said he never ever went out, that he was more or less 7 nights a week stuck, you know, in his flat in front of his widescreen television.
But one thing's for sure, for the Laurel and Hardy of 90s pop, the story's far from over.
Piss off. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
I think he'll have to sort of polish up a little bit on his dribbling skills and also his heading ability.
If I saw Rob again, what would I say? I said, I think I'll just go up to him and say, hi, remember me.
Gary, as in the words of your record, back for good. We want you back. Come back and see us, please.
I prefer to listen to James last.
Our Patsy, child star, pop star, film star, rock chick the wife. Patsy Kensit in This Wonderful Life, next Tuesday at 8 on 5.
Legacy of Evil.
What's that?
What was what? Wednesday at 9 on 5.
Charles Bronson is typically tough as a police commander defending his daughter who's accused of murder in a movie premiere next.
Bottle openers, welcome. This is the new drink called V2. Looks good, which is why some amongst us are concerned you might buy V2 purely for the way it looks. This would never do.
Don't put it off. Put it on. Barclaycard.
It's totally wicked! Over 40 massive hits with Five and Bewitched. All Saints and Another Level. The greatest new stars are all only on Totally Wicked. It's new and it's fresh. Get Totally Wicked with these summer anthems and 8 #1s. Get out and get Totally Wicked!
New sugar-free Airwaves from Wrigley's releases wave after wave of menthol and eucalyptus vapours to help clear your nose. Wrigley's Airwaves long-lasting vapour release gum.
This new gentle power from Clearasil is like your ideal bloke. Gentle but powerful. What a great combination.
Bound by grief.
Doesn't this make you angry?
United in vengeance. The network premiere True Fathers, Justice for the Innocent, Saturday at 9 on 5.
Funny man Roland Rivron and model Jordan chat later. They're with Sean Moncrief, who's not Jack Doherty, at 10:40.